How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to an episode here on Let's Build Twitter. As always, I'm Ethan, or Unknown Coder, your favorite underqualified senior software engineer. And again, I'm really sorry about lack of videos here over the last few months. I'm really working hard to go ahead and get everything basically caught up in a backlog of videos. Like I said in the previous video, I'm starting to get there. I've just been really busy with life and getting things ready and some other stuff. So I'm gonna have another video before this one comes out talking about all what's been going on and everything. But by the time you guys see this, hopefully everything will be ironed back out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about what we work on today. So today, I've been kind of putting this off for a while, but we're going to go ahead and get started on a very important aspect of Twitter, and that is notifications. So we're going to go ahead and pause on the front end work for the most part. We will do a little bit of testing on the front end just because that's the easiest, but we're going to go to the back end, set up some WebSockets and some other stuff like that to get everything working and get notifications going, and then we can go ahead and continue getting some stuff done on the front end. It was a little bit tricky, and that's why it took a little bit longer to get this episode recorded, but let's go ahead and hop into it. Let's go into the code now. So like I said, we're going to go ahead and start out in the back end, and let's go ahead and go into source main java com footer. We're going to go to our models. We're going to go ahead and make a notification.java. Go ahead and close out of that. So this will be a public class, and we'll call it notification. I don't know what that error is, but fingers crossed everything's fine. We need @entity. Maybe it's not all working. And @table. Let me go ahead and try to restart Vim. I'm not sure what's going on here. Space CA to go ahead and import entity from JavaX, and go ahead and import this as well. Now we're gonna go ahead and grab the name of the table. We don't need to do this. I just like to make sure that's there. That's just kind of how I am. Next we'll have @ID. Go ahead and bring in that. And we'll also have @generated value. And then in here, we're gonna go ahead and say strategy is equal to and generation type. And we're gonna go ahead and just set that to auto. We'll need to go ahead, I need to go ahead and spell it right. And then we'll also need to spell strategy right as well. And then I don't know if it's gonna let us, nope. Oh, it already grabbed it, perfect. So now we'll have @column, and then go ahead and import that as well. And that's gonna basically be everything that we need for this. Name is gonna be equal to notification _ID, and we'll have a private integer, and we'll go ahead and call this notification ID. Cool. Next we'll have an @enumerated. We'll have to make this in a second, that's fine. @column, and then this is going to be name equal to notification _type. We could just call it type, it is what it is, but here I have a private notification type. We'll go ahead and call this notification type. We'll create that in a second. It's going to be mad at us, but that's fine. Next we'll have @column, and name for this column will be equal to timestamp. You could have called this create TS or something, because this is going to be the create timestamp. It'll be a private local date time, if I could type, and this is just going to be notification timestamp. That way we know when it came in. Basically, we're gonna have a private boolean acknowledged. So we're gonna know when the user has seen it, more or less. Then we're gonna have an @many to one relation, and we're gonna have an @join column. And here we're gonna have name is equal to recipient _user _ID. So who is getting this notification? This will be a private application user, and this is going to be recipient, right? We're also going to go ahead and have who created the action. So this is also going to be many to one as well. @join column with the name equal to, and we're going to call this action _user _ID. So who initiated the action? There'll be a private application user action user. We have a couple more things here, so we're going to keep track of what post this was on, if there was a post. So this one's going to also be @many to one @join column. Now of course there's going to be other notifications that don't, oh my goodness, I cannot type. There's going to be other notifications that aren't allowed, like along the lines of posts and whatnot, but it's fine. So this is going to be name equal to post underscore ID. And here we're going to have nullable equal to true. So if it's not related to a post, we won't have it. This will be private post. And then also add a to do here. And we're going to go ahead and say add messages when we get to that point. So we'll add a message stuff whenever we get there. We're not there yet. So now let's go ahead and first, let's go ahead and import mini to one. And okay, let's go ahead and import our local date time. Go ahead and import that. And then let's also go ahead and I guess it didn't grab generation type. I thought it did. Do that. And then let's go ahead and see if we can't create this. So space JC to go ahead and create this. This will go into our models. Okay. And this will be called notification type. I really should have let this should done enum. That's fine. Go ahead and do that. So this will be public and then enum. So here inside of our enum, we're going to have a new underscore post. We're going to have a repost. We're going to have like, we'll have reply, we'll have bookmark. This one, I didn't know if we want to add or not, but I added it anyway. Message and follow. So basically, whoops, we'll be able to be notified whenever there's a new post created, whenever there's a repost, whenever there's a like, reply, bookmark, message. So let's go ahead and hop back in a notification and fix this error. So now we should be able to basically try to recompile this. It's all good. So that's everything. So now let's go ahead and get all of our getters, setters, all that stuff. So let's go ahead and generate a constructor with nothing in it. And I love that for us. Thank you for that. I'll fix it in a second. Let's go ahead and create a constructor with basically everything. We will have the notification type, so we'll say 2. We will have the local date time, so we'll have the notification timestamp, which is 3. We'll have acknowledged, which is 4, and we will have recipient, which is 5, and we will have application user, which is 6. We'll also have the post, which is 7, so that'll be our first one. And then we'll also space CA, do another constructor. This one will have everything except the post. This one's going to be kind of for creating ones like the follow, for example. So there are our constructors. Let's go ahead and fix this. It's going to annoy me. Let's go ahead and copy this back to the top. I don't know why it has the Eclipse behavior where it puts stuff where I don't want it. So now let's go ahead and just do getters and setters. So space CA, we'll go ahead and generate getters and setters. We'll go ahead and do a hash string and equals, and we'll go ahead and add everything. We'll have to regenerate these a little bit later on. That's fine. And then finally, let's go ahead and just do a toString. So generate toString again. Whoops. Let's go ahead and add all of these. And cool. There we go. That's good to go. So that is our notification. So let's just go ahead and take a look again. So we have all of our getters and setters and everything. We have a couple of different constructors. I think I did these right. We'll find out. Then we have a post if it is a post related notification. We have our 2 different application users. So whoever actually initiated it, and then whoever is the recipient. We have whether or not it's been acknowledged, the timestamp, the type of it, and the ID. So that's everything that we need to set up for the actual entity itself. Everything's looking good. So now let's go ahead and set up the repository. So let's go ahead and do leader JC, and I should have done an interface. So let's actually quit out of this and we'll say space JI for interface. We'll go ahead and say repositories. I hope that's repository. We'll find out. And then this is going to be notification repository. Go ahead and do that. And then we will go ahead and say that this is going to extends, and this is going to be JPA repository. And we will have our notification and our integer. So for now, we're just going to do a very simple repository here. We're not going to have anything inside of it. We're just going to use the CRUD aspect of it, but we'll come back a little bit later on in the video and get this set up. So now we need to go ahead and set up the service. And then once we get the service set up, we're going to start doing some of our WebSockets and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and space and JC. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put this inside of these services. And then we're going to go ahead and say notification service. And we'll go ahead and put at service above this. Also, I didn't put at repository above the other one. Technically, you don't need it. I typically like to put it anyway. So I might go back and grab that. But in here, we're going to have a private notification repository. And I'll call this notification repository. I'm not sure if I saved it because it's not popping up. Let's just see. Will it let me import it? Yes, it will. And I do think I might have put it in the wrong space. Let me see. Yes, I did. Let's delete this really quick. Now we're good to go. Now we also need to go ahead and bring in a couple other things. So next private final, and this is going to be user service. We're going to bring in the user service. We'll call it user service. We need to bring in one other thing, but we're not quite ready for it yet. So we'll bring it in a little bit. Make sure that's a private final. Then we'll have an auto wired constructor, public notification service. And then this is going to have our notification repository and notification repository. Then it'll have our user service, this dot, and we'll say notification repository is equal to notification repository, and we'll have our this dot user service equal to user service. And we'll also come back through and add the other thing a little bit later on, but we're not quite ready for that yet because we need to set up some stuff with our dependencies for our WebSockets. But first we're going to set up a public void, and we're going to call this create and send post notifications. So it's going to be whenever we create a new post. So we'll pass in that post that got created. Let's go and import post before I forget about it. So import that. So now we're going to get the application user, which is the author. So application user author is equal to user service dot get user by ID. We're going to get the post dot get author, and then dot get user ID. This is because I'm lazy and sometimes I only pass in the ID whenever I do this. So this is just kind of like a safeguard. We're gonna have a set of application users, and this is gonna be followers. This is gonna be equal to user service dot, this is gonna be retrieve, maybe followers list, and then we're gonna have the author dot get, and this is going to be username. I don't know why I used the username here. It is what it is. But then we're going to have this. So let's go ahead and grab our application user and our set. So go ahead and import application user. Let's go ahead and import our set. There we go. So now we know who we need to grab. And did I spell something wrong? Let's see. Change to retrieve followers list. Probably spelled something wrong. Now let's go ahead and say list of notification. We're going to set up a bunch of notifications to send out to basically all the followers of the user. So we're going to say notifications equal to followers dot stream. And then in here, we're going to say dot map. We're going to map each follower like so. And we're going to return a new notification. And inside the notification, we're going to have notification type. So notification type, and this can be a dot new post because that's the type of notification. We're going to have our local date, time dot now because we want it to be set now. True for acknowledged follower, and then author, and then post. Let's go ahead and import a couple things here. So let's go ahead and bring in our list. Go and bring in our notification and followers dot stream. We still need to say my bad dot collect, and then we're going to say collectors dot to list. We're going to go ahead and map that to a list of notifications. We're going to bring in collectors. Go ahead and bring in our notification type, okay, or local date time, that works too. And then now our notification type. So what's going on here is we're creating a new post notification. The timestamp is going to be now. We don't want to basically fetch this whenever we log in. Like, we don't care if we miss these, more or less. We have the follower and we also have the author. So there's that. So now what we need to do is we need to say notifications are equal to notification repository dot save all. We're going to go ahead and pass in those notifications, and then what we need to do is we need to send each notification to the correct recipient. But to do this, what we're going to have to do is we're going to need to go ahead and set up our WebSockets. Let's go ahead and add the dependencies for our WebSockets. We'll get them set up. This is looking like it's going to be a little bit longer episode, so bear with me here. So I'm going to go ahead and find our pom.xml. And inside of our pom.xml, let's just go ahead and go to the bottom of our dependencies. And I'll just put it down here. That's fine. So we're going to have a dependency. And let's go ahead and close out this dependency. Hopefully I don't spell anything incorrectly. And here we're going to have a group ID, maybe. And group ID is going to be org.spring framework.boot. Let's go ahead and close that group ID. And then below that, we're going to have artifact ID. And our artifact ID is going to be spring boot starter -web socket, and then artifact ID. Now there's a good chance I probably spelled something wrong here and it breaks everything, so that'll be fun. Next we'll have another dependency. And let's go ahead and close out of this dependency. Maybe. There we go. And then here our group ID is going to be org.spring framework. Maybe. And then this is going to be just that, so group ID. And then we're going to have our artifact ID, which is going to be spring-messaging. And then let's go ahead and close out our artifact ID. And then we're going to have one more dependency. So let's go ahead and bring in one more dependency, close out of it, /dependency. Maybe. Getting pretty late here. And then this is going to be org.spring, maybe, framework. And then this one's going to be .security. And I need to make sure we have our group ID. So group ID, open that, and then let's go ahead and close out of our group ID. Group ID. And make sure it's closed. And then we'll have our artifact ID. So artifact ID is going to be spring-security, and then -messaging, actually not dash. Go ahead and close out of our artifact ID. So basically we're adding in starter WebSocket to get the WebSocket. Messaging is going to allow us to send basically messages to the WebSockets, and then Spring Security messaging is going to allow us to use Spring Security and allow us to send messages to WebSockets through that. We might need to restart the application for this to come into play. So let's go ahead and restart the application here. We might also need to run clean. We'll see. Hopefully everything works out. I think all I did last time was restart this. Again, I'm using Vim, so if using something else, it'll probably just work seamlessly. Sometimes some weird stuff happens. So now that we're done that, we should be good to go ahead and start creating some configurations for the WebSockets and hopefully start getting some stuff sent to the WebSockets. I'm just going to go ahead and open up my Explorer, and I'm going to go up to my config, and then I'm going to go ahead and whoops, I didn't want to go there. I wanted to hit A, and I'm going to go ahead and say web, and then sockets and configuration. So configuration.java. Let's go ahead and go here. So this will be a public class, and then web socket configuration. Cool. And then let's go ahead and do that. So we need a couple annotations here. First, we need configuration to tell, basically to tell Spring this is a configuration class. We need to say enable web socket message broker. So cool, that should be working because now we have the WebSocket stuff, so that should be good. And then what we need to go ahead and do, we need to override two methods. So first we need to override a public void, and then it's going to be called configure message broker. And this is going to have a message broker registry. Go ahead and import that. So call this registry. And then inside here, we're going to say registry dot, and we're going to go ahead and say enable simple and broker. And this is going to be /user. It's gonna how we send messages to users basically. We're gonna say registry dot and then set application destination. Whoops, maybe prefixes. Maybe. And this is going to be if we ever send messages back from our application to the Spring Boot, and that's going to be /app. And then finally we say registry and then .set user destination prefix. And this one is going to be /user once again. So whenever we're sending basically user specific stuff, we'll send it to user. And next we have override. This will be public void, and this is going to be register stomp endpoints. And then this is going to be stomp and point registry. We'll go ahead and just call this registry as well. And this is important to do it just like this as well. Otherwise, it's not going to work through Spring Boot. So we're going to say registry dot add endpoint. And here we're going to say /ws. So we're going to call it through .ws. We're going to say set allowed origins. And this is important. This needs to be HTTP // and then local host 3000. It will not allow you to use star. So that's important. And we're going to say with talk.js. So that is our first configuration. Let's see, did I spell something wrong? Oh, you know what? We need to do this. I forgot. We need to implement the web socket, and this is called message broker configure. There we go. That's why it's complaining, because it wasn't overriding anything. There we go. These are basically default functions or methods inside of an interface. So now we need to go ahead and set up the security part. So let's go ahead and say space JC. We'll go ahead and put this in configuration or config, and then we'll go ahead and I'm going to call this web socket security configuration. So this one's going to be similar. So here we'll say at configuration as well. And then inside we have a couple things we need to do. First, let's go ahead and extend. Extends. We're going to extend a class. So abstract. And this is going to be web. I'm spelling something wrong here, or actually security. It's a little bit concerning that's not popping up. Abstract security and web socket message broker configure. Let's see if I just spelled something wrong and that's why it's not popping up, or if something else is wrong. Space CA, import it. Okay, I don't know why it wasn't popping up. That's fine. So now we're going to override a couple things from this class as well. So it's going to be protected Boolean and then same origin disabled. This is important. This has to be set to return true. Otherwise, it'll never allow you the cross origins to work. And then at override, and then this is going to be protected and void, and this is going to be configure inbound. And then for configure inbound, we're going to have message security and security. This is going to be metadata source registry, and we're going to call this messages. And then here we're going to say messages and dot simp dest matchers. And here we're going to have /ws. And then next we're going to have dot any message and dot permit all. So basically we want anyone to be able to send messages to the WebSocket, mainly because we should already be logged in. So it shouldn't really matter the way that this is going to be used. So there we go. So that is the configuration for that. And now we basically need to set up a little bit more Spring Security to get this working. So let's go into our Spring Security. So here inside Spring Security, I'm going to clean that up a little bit. We don't need that. Let's come down. We need to go to about line 57. We need to go ahead and change this allowed origins once again to be HTTP : localhost colon 3000. This is again an issue with the WebSockets not really being very nice. And then here we're going to say configuration, and it's going to be set and allow credentials. This is also going to be set to true. Again, this is important to allow us to actually do what we want. And then what we want to do below our course here is we want to go ahead and set some headers. We're going to say dot headers, and this is going to say headers and a lambda headers dot frame options. We're going to go ahead and say dot same origin. I don't remember exactly what this does. This is again something to do with WebSockets. Let me make sure you spell frame options right. We're getting really close to being ready. Finally, let's go ahead and permit all of the WS. Now I had this on line 77. I don't know if it matters where it goes, but I'll go ahead and put it back here. MVC, whoops, matchers, and slash WS slash star star. So basically we want to go ahead and dot permit all to our WebSocket. Again, we won't be able to actually use the WebSocket until we're all the way signed in, so I'm not really concerned about anything going wrong if we are using it, allowing everyone. So now what we can go ahead and do is finish setting up this first method inside of our notification service. So let's go back into our notification service. And first off, we need to go ahead and bring in something to actually send the messages. I'm going to say private, final, and simp messaging template. I'm just going to call it template, and let's go ahead and bring that in here as well. So we're also going to go ahead and say simp messaging template, and we'll pass it down here. So then we'll also say this dot template equal to template. So this is going to be how we actually send the messages. And now what we want to go and do is send all of the messages using this template. So to do that, we're simply going to say notifications dot for each, and make sure I spell notifications right, for each. So for each notification, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and say template dot convert and send to user, and this is going to be notification, if I could spell right, notification get recipient, and then dot get username, right? And then we're going to go ahead and have slash notifications. So it's going to be sent to the notification stream for the specific user. We're going to pass back that notification. So what this is saying is send to each user. It's going to send it to their username and slash notifications queue. So now that is good. What we need to go ahead and do is actually set it up to be called whenever a new post is created. So that is simple enough. Let's go into our post service, and inside of our post service, let's go ahead and first bring in this new service. So we're going to go ahead, say private final, and this is going to be notification service. Let's go ahead and bring in the notification service in here. So notification service. Let's go ahead and say this dot notification service is equal to notification service, maybe. And then we'll go down to where we create the post, but it's going to start out small here. So let's come down here. So now we have posted is equal to postrepo.save. So what we'll go ahead and do, and I believe this is where we want it, we'll go ahead and say notification service dot, and we'll say create and send post notifications. We'll go ahead and pass in posted, and if my keyboard would like to work, that'd be cool. So now whenever a post gets created, it'll go ahead and call the notification service with that, and then send out a notification to all the users. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop back into the front end just to test out and get everything working. So let's go into the front end, let's go into source, let's go in to our, I think we want to go into app.tsx, and this is where we're going to do our work. But first we need to go into our application consoles. Let's go and quit out of this, and what we'll go and do is we're going to say npm install. We need to install net, we need to install sock.js /client, we need to install stomp.js, we need to say at types slash sock.js and dash client. And we also need to say at types and slash stomp.js. Let's go ahead and install all of those. Fingers crossed I didn't typo anything. There's a good chance I did. I did. Cannot find at types, and this should be sock.js dash client. Let's try again. Okay, seems fine. Let's go ahead and npm run start. Once again, it's going to try to restart. Okay, so I'll give it a second to start the development server here, and we'll hop in. Cool, no issues found. Let's hop back into our front-end code. So now we're going to be working in app.tsx here, and we're going to basically just be bringing in a few things, connecting to it, and then we'll go ahead and test it out. And I think this is running pretty long, so this will probably be split in 2 episodes. Inside of here, let's go ahead and just get to work. Also, let's just go ahead and cf to go ahead and format that. I wasn't loving that. So first we're going to say let stomp client equal to, and this is going to be a client, and yep, from stomp.js, or it'll be null, and we're going to set this equal to null to start. We're going to set it up a little bit later. Next we'll have const user is equal to use selector, and we'll have our state, which is a root state object, and we'll go ahead and pass our state.user.loggedin. Keyboard is dying on me. So for next we'll say const connected, and set connected is equal to use state. This one might change, we'll see. This will be a boolean, and this will be false. So this is bound to change. This is basically more or less just a test. So next we'll have a function called connect, and inside this function we're going to first check to see if we have a user. So if we have a user, then we're going to go ahead and say const socket is equal to new sock.js, and this is going to be to http:// localhost 8000/ws. So there's that ws we saw earlier, and then our stomp client is going to be equal to, we're going to go ahead and bring in the over function, and we're going to do it over that socket. And I don't know why this got like that, but there we go. And then finally what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to say stomp client.connect. We're going to go ahead and pass an empty object. Those are just some options. We need to set up a function called onConnected, and we also need to set up a function called onAir. So we'll do that next. So next, function onConnected, and I really hope nothing goes wrong here. This was such a pain to get working, so hopefully everything just works. Whenever we're connected, we'll set connected to true. And then we'll also go ahead and say if we have a stomp client, then what we're going to want to go ahead and do is we want to go ahead and say stomp client, and then we're going to say dot subscribe, and we're going to go ahead and subscribe to backtick/user. This is like the key that we want to watch. We're going to say $ curly brace user question mark dot, and then username. This should always be done at this point, and then slash notifications. So we're watching for notifications on the queue/user, the username/notifications. Whenever we do get a message, we're going to go ahead and say on message received. We need to go ahead and set up on message received as well. That way it doesn't error out, but we'll do that after we do on air. So function on and then air. Here, all we're going to go ahead and do is just set connected to false. We could probably do some other things as well, but for now we'll just set to false, and this is more or less just a test, so I'm not doing anything crazy. And then finally, function on message received. Here, all we're going to do is console.log. We're going to go ahead and console.log. We need to actually grab an event. So we're going to go ahead and say that we have a payload type any, and here we're going to go ahead and just console.log the payload. So that is all of those. We need to figure out why set connected is broken. Oh, that's why. Set connected. There we go. And then function connect. Let's see. So stomp client, I spelled stomp wrong. Stomp client.connect. That's fine. Function connect is broken because who knows? I spelled set connected wrong here. This is why set connected is mad. Fix connected. And what is still the problem here? Connected, set connected, connect. Function's just not being used. That's fine. I spelled stomp client wrong. Stomp client. Now the last thing we need to do is actually connect. So bring in use effect. We're going to go ahead and watch for the user to be connected. So whenever user is no longer undefined, we'll go ahead and connect to that user stream or that user's website, whatever we want to call it. Then we're going to say if user, and we are not connected because we don't want to connect if we're already connected. And then if that's the case, we'll go ahead and call connect. So theoretically, this should be all set up. Now, fingers crossed, I don't have to go through and debug a bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and hop in the front end and give it a refresh. So I'm going to open up the inspect console, go into console, and we're connected to server, so that is a good sign. So if we refresh again, we should go ahead and see that WebSocket opened. This might be a little bit small. You guys actually can't see it. Let me move it over. So we see WebSocket connected, we're connected, and we subscribed to destination user unknown coder / notifications. So what we want to go ahead and do here, since we set up the new post notification, what I would like to try to do is open up Postman, make a new post under summer, and see if we get that message here. And then whenever we come back in the next episode, we'll go through and set up all the other notification types. So let me open up Postman really quick. Here in Postman, let's go ahead and close out of some of these things that we'll take a look at next episode. And let's go ahead and go into our post. Actually, sorry, let's go into login. Let's go ahead and log in as SS summertime and then password. Well, let's go ahead and grab Summer's token. So I should be following Summer. As you can see, whenever we're on the main screen, it was there. So let's go ahead and paste it in here. So now if we make a post as Summer, so we can say testing notification controller, user ID 3, that's Summer, and seeing everyone. So let's see if it makes the post successfully. Fingers crossed, it made the post. If we go into our front end, okay, it didn't do what I expected. Let's see if we missed something. Let's go back to our backend. We call notification service.posted. Let's go ahead and W to make sure it compiled. Let's make sure the backend recompiled. And I'll even do this just to be safe. Probably didn't need to restart it, but never hurts to try again. So again, if we refresh, we lost connection because we restarted the server. We're subscribed, so it is connected. So if we come back in here, hopefully this works this time. If not, I'll debug it really quick and see what's going on. There we go. Cool. So now you can see we have our notification. It's pretty ugly, but if we go ahead and copy it and then go to a JSON formatter. So if we go ahead and format this, and we will go ahead and say /space tab process, you can see, make this bigger. We have our notification ID, why it's 4. I'm not sure, maybe because there's 4 people following her and I just happen to be the 4th person. I'm not sure. We have our new post notification. It was created at this time. It's already been acknowledged, which is basically what this is going to be used for is whenever we log in or whenever we open up the page and we're going to get all of our unread notifications. We don't care when people created posts. This is just going to be for whenever we're on the feed page and people are creating posts. It was sent to me, and there's going to be some stuff we need to work on user in a little bit, but we'll get to that in the next episode. We have who did it, so that's Summer. We also have the post here and then a bunch of data. See, this is why I did the ID, because whenever I do Postman, I don't always fill this all out. So there's a bunch of nulls here. Honestly, we could just set this as like the user ID and be absolutely fine. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know it's a little bit not as much as I wanted to get done, but we're already pushing 46 minutes and I still have, this is like only the tip of the iceberg. This is like half of what I wanted to do. So in the next episode, we'll continue working on this. We'll try to get the rest of the notifications working, do some testing and all that stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys do want to see more of this, I do have a playlist linked down in the description below that starts from absolute nothing to where we're at now. And as always, if you do enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a great one. Bye, y'all.